one critical factor to getting better from long-term depression. Hey there, I'm Larry, I'm a therapist, and I'm the owner of Growth Odyssey in Colorado Springs. I'd like to talk about depression and how it changes when it's been in your life for an extended period of time. Depression that's gone on for years on end, what I'm going to nickname long-term depression, has an extra wrinkle to it that, if left unaddressed and you're unaware of it, can actually prolong treatment or even stop you in your progress in treatment. So what is this extra wrinkle? So imagine here is your identity, right here, right? It's whole, it's complete, we have an identity. Then depression comes along, we've all seen that cloud metaphor raining over it, overshadowing it, and so on. But what happens over time is that if it's gone on for years on end, this depression starts to work its way into your identity and weave itself in there. You go from being someone who feels depressed, who is going through depression, who's struggling with some depression, to someone who identifies with their depression. It's no longer, I'm a bit depressed or I'm very depressed. It's now, I am a depressed person. Now, these things might sound about the same to you, but they're actually very, very different. Once it's worked its way into your identity, now it becomes a little bit trickier to get back out. And why is that? Well, here we are, right? And there's the depression in your identity. So as we start going and trying to work on that depression, we start pulling on it, trying to get rid of it, we're pulling on your identity. So naturally, that's going to be very unsettling, and you may end up working against that in inadvertent ways. Now, this doesn't mean you're trying to stay sick, you don't want to get better. It's nothing like that. All this means is that you're trying to avoid having a giant gaping hole in your identity. That's a very normal thing to try to avoid. If we don't address the identity aspect of long-term depression, then we'll work on the symptoms, we'll work on coping skills, we'll work on changing thinking patterns, we can work on all these different things, but somehow it'll just feel like things aren't quite moving the way you want them to. You just aren't quite getting better as quickly as you want, and you can't figure out why. So if you want to get better from long-term depression, there's one thing that you can work on now to lay the foundation, the groundwork for getting better, and get rid of that roadblock that could slow you down from getting better. We're going to use what's called the miracle question. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to imagine yourself about 2 years in the future. So this version of you has no depression. So you wake up in the morning and everything related to your depression, loss of energy, loss of appetite, or maybe increased appetite, loss of interest in hobbies or things that you used to enjoy, that's called anhedonia, motivation, your loss of motivation, isolation, all of those things, all of it's gone. You're living a happy, peaceful, connected life. You have meaning, you have purpose. Your life is what you want it to be. Really try to envision and imagine that. Who are you? What kind of person are you? What kinds of things do you do? What kind of music do you listen to? What kinds of hobbies do you have? What kind of personality do you have? So I want you to try to envision this as best you can. And don't just envision it up here. Try to feel it. Try to feel what it would be like to be happy, peaceful, connected, to do all those things that you want to do, to be involved with the people you want to be involved with. Try to create as complete an image of yourself as you can. Now, why are we doing this? Let's talk about that. Well, the reason you're doing this is because if we go back to that sort of hand model I'm using of your identity, with depression sort of infecting your personality and your sense of self, when we start to pull on that, like I said, it's going to be unsettling and you might work against it. But if you've developed another idea of who you want to be, another sense of identity that you can bring in there, as that depression gets pulled out, you have another thing over here ready to come in, another identity, another aspect of you that'll be ready to fill that void. That's much less intimidating, and those unconscious things that may happen to slow down your change and slow down getting rid of depression just might not go on, because now you're not going to leave a giant hole in your identity. Of course, this is just the first step in laying the foundational work for long-term depression, and there's plenty of other things that need to be done, such as working on coping skills, developing healthy behaviors and patterns of what you do in your life, and breaking unhealthy patterns and things like that. If you like this video and it's been beneficial to you, like and subscribe, and maybe share it with a friend. If you think you're ready to take that plunge and start therapy, pick up the phone and give me a call at Growth Odyssey. I just may be able to help you out.